In the early 1940s, during the chaos of World War II, the United States launched one of the most secret and ambitious scientific projects ever attempted. Thousands of scientists, engineers, and military personnel were brought together under strict secrecy. Their mission was simple to describe, yet almost impossible to achieve. They were tasked with building the most powerful weapon the world had ever seen. This effort would become known as the Manhattan Project, and within just a few years, it would fundamentally change warfare, global politics, and the future of humanity. The origins of the Manhattan Project can be traced back to a growing fear among scientists during the late 1930s. In 1938, researchers in Germany discovered a scientific breakthrough known as nuclear fission. Nuclear fission occurs when the nucleus of an atom splits into smaller parts, releasing an enormous amount of energy. Scientists quickly realized that if this energy could be controlled, it might be possible to create an incredibly powerful weapon. The concern was especially urgent because Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, had already begun expanding across Europe. Many physicists worried that Nazi Germany might develop an atomic bomb first. Among those concerned was the famous scientist Albert Einstein. In 1939, Einstein and other scientists signed a letter to U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt warning that Germany might be attempting to build such a weapon. The letter urged the United States government to begin its own research immediately. At first, the American government moved cautiously. Research began on a small scale. But as the war intensified, the urgency grew. By 1942, the United States officially launched the Manhattan Project. The project was placed under the control of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and directed by General Leslie Groves. Groves was known for his efficiency and determination. He was responsible for overseeing the enormous logistical challenge of building research facilities, managing thousands of workers, and maintaining complete secrecy. To lead the scientific work, Groves selected physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer assembled a team of brilliant scientists from across the United States and Europe. Many of them were refugees who had fled Nazi-controlled territories. To develop the atomic bomb, the United States constructed a series of secret research facilities across the country. One of the most important sites was located in a remote area of New Mexico known as Los Alamos. At Los Alamos, scientists worked together to design and test the first nuclear weapons. Entire communities were built to support the project. Other major facilities were established in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Hanford, Washington. These locations were responsible for producing the materials needed for the bomb, including enriched uranium and plutonium. At its peak, the Manhattan Project employed more than 130,000 people. Yet most workers had little idea what they were actually building. Secrecy was so strict that many employees only understood their own small piece of the project. Building an atomic bomb was far more complicated than anyone initially imagined. Scientists had to solve numerous technical problems. First, they needed to produce enough nuclear material capable of sustaining a chain reaction. Then, they had to design a weapon that could release this energy in an explosive form. Two main bomb designs eventually emerged. One used uranium and was relatively simple in design. The other used plutonium and required a much more complex implosion system. The team at Los Alamos worked tirelessly to solve these challenges. For many scientists, the work was driven by fear that Nazi Germany might achieve the same goal first. The pressure was immense. They were racing against time in the middle of a global war. By the summer of 1945, the scientists believed they had successfully developed the first atomic bomb. But before it could be used, the device had to be tested. The test took place on July 16, 1945, in the New Mexico desert. This event became known as the Trinity Test. As the bomb detonated, an enormous explosion lit up the sky. A massive mushroom cloud rose high into the atmosphere. The energy released by the blast was unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. Oppenheimer later recalled a line from ancient scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The atomic age had begun. Shortly after the Trinity test, the United States prepared to use atomic weapons against Japan, which was still fighting in World War II. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The destruction was catastrophic. Entire sections of the cities were destroyed instantly. The bombings shocked the world and demonstrated the devastating power of nuclear weapons. Soon afterward, Japan announced its surrender, bringing an end to World War II. The Manhattan Project changed the course of history. It introduced nuclear weapons into global politics and ushered in a new era of military power. In the years that followed, other nations began developing their own nuclear arsenals. This competition eventually led to the nuclear arms race of the Cold War. At the same time, nuclear technology also found peaceful applications in medicine, energy production, and scientific research. The scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project later reflected deeply on the consequences of their work. Some believed the project had ended the war and saved lives. Others feared the destructive potential of nuclear weapons. The Manhattan Project remains one of the most remarkable scientific efforts ever undertaken. In just a few years, thousands of people working in secret succeeded in unlocking the immense power hidden within the atom. But with that achievement came a new responsibility. For the first time in history, humanity possessed the ability to destroy entire cities with a single weapon. The world would never be the same again.